How's it going in there, Sasha?
I am attempting to do all the things. So
Okay.
Beth, if you could just do a little patter while I get this going.
I'm going to launch the first poll. So we're going to have some polls happening during this. So somewhere in your screen, there should be a poll that came up, a poll in progress with five answers to the question, how are you feeling about your ability to manage remotely? So are people seeing that? If someone can give me a thumbs up if you see the poll. Yay! Wow, I love it when technology does what it says. Makes me so happy. So
Okay.
go ahead and start jumping in on that poll.
Awesome.
Thanks, Jackie.
Okay.
Meeting is now streaming on Facebook Live. Hey,
What?
Facebookers. Welcome.
Welcome, guys. Thank you so much. So Beth, shall I dive in?
Yeah, dive
I'm
away.
gonna dive in. So, guys, thank you so much for joining us. When all of this COVID-19 stuff started blowing up, Beth and I, we were having lots of conversations with our clients and thinking like, what could we do to be of service? What could we do to help people? And one of the things that we thought of immediately was the fact that people were moving to working remotely in huge numbers quickly and without precedent. And we thought that there were some things we could share about the things we have learned from working together remotely for quite a long time, and how the principles and practices of navigating challenging dialogue could support that. So I want to acknowledge that everyone gathered here with us probably already had a plan for 2020. You probably had a roadmap, goals, strategic directives, milestones, something that was going to help you know what to do with your people. And now, with very rare exception, I imagine most of those plans and roadmaps have changed dramatically, if not been completely abandoned. We're dealing with a lot of change right now, and being remote for many people is a huge change. It's my personal belief that everyone here today is here because they want to lead through chaos. And even if you don't have a staff to manage, the things you're going to learn today will be practical strategies that help you during this time of change. So remote work has been around a lot longer than we really think about today. Offshore teams that have been managed remotely via teleconference or email started to emerge at least 15 years ago. And even before that, sales teams have always worked remotely, using things like telephones and other means to connect with each other. So, the idea that you could have people around the world working and expanding teams was super exciting. And the problems that arose from that came from what happens when you think things are happening without a real understanding of what is going on for them on their end. So all kinds of stories about who could and who couldn't be trusted, as well as less than stellar results, led to a lot of disenchantment with offshore teams. But the thing is that way of working never went away. In fact, it expanded. And what we still need to develop are the kinds of tools that you can't use in just, opening a web browser. Those aren't the things that help you work effectively together remotely. So how do you work with people when you can't see what they're doing? The other end of the spectrum is to do more checks, more controls, more reports, more number crunching, more interpreting of data, and you think that is going to tell you what's going on. Bottom line, the same problems you have in managing people face to face are going to show up in remote teams. And believe it or not, the same tools that help you manage face-to-face are the same ones that are going to help you succeed in the expanding world of working remotely. So what we have found as a company is that when things are most chaotic and new, like right now, slowing down and replacing the need to have an answer with curiosity is the key to navigating the shifting sands of now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So Beth, do you want to add to that?
Well, I just know, when this came down, COVID-19 and people moving remotely and all of this didn't really happen overnight, right? I remember 9/11. I was in a conference room. I was in a meeting. We were talking about sales forecasts. We opened the door to walk out of the conference room, and about 10 people were standing there going, something horrible happened. It was instantaneous, right? We did not have this slow kind of ramp up. What's coming next? What's coming next? What are we going to have to do next? What's our adjustment next? And it creates a different level of tension. What my overarching belief is that things are going to get reimagined in new ways. Systems that we have been holding on to that do not need to be held on to anymore are going to break apart. They're going to fall down. They're not going to hold up under this. And some of them are going to be things that we have been holding on to tightly to for a really long time. And there's going to be discomfort, and there's going to be pain, and there's going to be grief, and we are going to have an opportunity to feel so many feelings as we go through it. And a lot of those feelings are going to be shifting over into management. The majority of the coaching calls that I have been doing for the past 2 weeks have been helping people who are in a panic, helping people who want to know when this is going to end, helping people who want to know how do I know my employee is working and not just like outside playing with their kids all day? How do I know the deliverables are going to get done? How do I trust that what people tell me are true? And then there's some other people who are the social people, right? They are the eyes on your DISC profile. They manage by walking around. They collect their most important information face to face at the water cooler, the lunch table. A lot of those people are going to struggle. You may be one of them. And then there's some of your rock stars who work quietly. They don't show up well in team meetings. They don't talk a lot. They don't connect that way. And they're going to become even at a higher elevation of importance and able to achieve work. So everything we know is going to shift. And the thing that needs to stay is your self-awareness, your self-leadership, your ability to manage your emotions, and your ability to stay within it. So those are really the things we're going to talk about. Sasha, do you want to talk a little bit about how people can communicate during this call when they have thoughts and questions, or they want to make a comment?
Right.
And I'm going to end the poll right now. So if you haven't gone into the poll, I'm going to give you 2 more minutes, and then I'm going to close it out. So please go.
So if you all are familiar, if you aren't familiar with Zoom, there is a chat function. Which if you look at the bottom of the line, you'll see like a little bubble, little thought bubble. You can click on that and you can see that there's a chat. So you can either direct the chat to everyone. It says where it says to, you can click on that, or you can send a chat directly to Beth or myself or to somebody else. But if you want to, hi, is this, here we go, an example. Kristen wants to know, is it being recorded? Yes, it is. Yes, it is. And we will be, we'll be sending it out afterwards. We'll clean it up a little bit and send it out with a few other things we have for you. But yeah, so one, if you want to ask a question while we're talking, throw it in the chat. We'll be looking over there periodically to see what's going on. We are also going to have after we are done, doing the knowledge transfer part of this, we're going to have an open discussion and question and answer. And that way you can use the raise your hand feature, which is, if you look on your little screen, you can raise your hand to to say, hey, I want to be, I want you to acknowledge me. I have something I want to say, and we'll take you off mute.
I have a technology question.
Oh, I hope I have a technology answer.
Well, it's not really for you, but that's okay. Did anybody actually take the poll? Nobody did. Okay, beautiful.
I saw a bunch of people took the poll. We had a bunch of different answers.
Oh, because on mine, when I accumulated the answers, it said nobody answered anything.
Oh.
How many people feel out of control? 0. How many people are managing unsure, but how well they're doing? 0, 0, 0. So you may need to tabulate that.
Okay, so
tons of people are saying they took the poll. Thank you. I love you all. Oh, I love that. Wow.
I saw the results come up and then suddenly disappear. So
well, because the results said 0, I think, didn't they?
No.
Oh.
No, I was looking at the poll and I was seeing a lot of answers. So I have no idea what's going on.
That's beautiful. Everybody besides me gets to know. That's great.
That's
I'm
right.
gonna practice. Grace is in the space. I can only control myself. Okay, great.
There you go.
Do you want to review the answers just quickly?
Yeah, so no one's feeling out of control, which is fantastic. Because if you were out of control, I doubt that you'd even be on this call. But
the out of control people did not log in.
I'm seeing that there is, like, sort of in the middle, there are people who they're managing, but they're unsure of how well they're doing. Some people feel confident about how they're doing, but they're not so sure about how their team is doing. And there's a smaller group of people who said that they're struggling, finding their way. They're struggling, but they're finding their way. And there is a small percentage that says we are cohesive and performing. And for those people, I salute you. You probably have some great stuff to offer, and I hope that you speak up at the end to share what it is that you've learned over time to actually work remotely. So, sharing your wisdom is something we totally invite.
And that is one thing that's going to get us through, is connection and sharing what we're learning and communicating to other people. I have one client who said to me, Beth, please tell me what book I can read that is going to tell me how we're going to do this. And I'm like, honey, we are writing it right now. We are all writing it. We are writing it together. So this book has not been created. So it's a great time to throw all your business books out because they're no longer valid. That's what I'm taking from it.
Oh my God. So
I'm a big purger.
So Beth, I want to say we've organized this offering around something we call mantras, which are short distillations of, like, core concepts for us. So we've created 6 mantras, and so Beth and I are going to be delivering around those mantras, and we're going to be giving you a cheat sheet that you can use afterwards to remind yourself of these things as we go. And so, Beth, I was wondering, would you like to launch into our first mantra?
I would love to do that. So the first mantra, and anybody that's ever been in any of my workshops or our workshops or done any work with me at all knows this one so well, which is I'm responsible for my own energy. And so what the research is telling us, you've heard me talk about this, is that our energy extends 7 times further outside of our body. And we don't ever really know what kind of connection we're creating and how we're fostering disconnection with the energy that we're bringing, right? So this is a really important time to understand that your energy as a leader is totally contagious. It's a virus, right? Energy 19. So what I'm going to encourage you to do is to use that in terms of leading remotely, to think about, okay, you know what, I'm going along, something popped up, oh my God, I need to answer right now. Normally, I'd probably hop up out of my seat, go out to the person's desk, and I would get some visual, right? I'd see they're engaged in a conversation, they're on the phone, maybe they're tense, maybe they're chill and having their coffee or whatever is happening. I would see, maybe they're working with a big giant spreadsheet, and I would make some assessments. based on how I'm going to show up in that moment. But when you can't see, when you're not getting all the extra data, and you just pop into their reality with what energy you are feeling in that moment, you are transferring that energy right over to them in that moment. Now, in NCD, Navigating Challenging Dialogue, we offer some steps for getting clean and clear on your energy before you show up in anything. And it's a simple process that takes maybe 3 seconds, right? I want you to just take a moment right now, and I want you to take a big inhale, and then a big exhale, and just let it go. And do it again, do it a couple times. Inhale, feel the oxygen going into your system, down into your lungs, into all your bronchial little thingies that are in there flying around. Imagine it going through your whole body, and on the exhale, letting go of anything that isn't going to serve you in this second, in this moment, in this next conversation you're going to have. It's not going to serve you in terms of whoever's calling in on the other end of the phone, whatever meeting you're getting ready to run, whatever child is coming in into the room, or frightened parent or spouse, whatever's happening. Whatever energy you're holding on to isn't going to serve you in that moment. So you can let it go. It's always there to pick back up. It doesn't go anywhere. You can grab a hold of it whenever you want. We have gone through change so many times. And I want you to just think a moment about the first thing you did outside of the womb, when it most likely was to take in a breath of oxygen. What a change that was. What a change. You probably were not like in there in the womb going, okay, cool, any minute I'm going to be living on the outside. I'm going to have a different oxygen source. I'm going to have a different nutrition source. The whole world's going to be different. I'm not going to have this little protective bubble around me. And then after a process that felt probably pretty uncomfortable, I don't know because I don't remember, there you were, out in the world in a totally different place, and you took in oxygen and you facilitated the shift to carbon dioxide. We were created to facilitate change, but it's our resistance, it's our holding on. It's holding on to the strategic plan or the operations plans or the work plans that you worked so hard on last year, and now they're not relevant for what the time we're in, and yet you're holding on to them, and you're trying to move those forward while you're trying to navigate what's happening right now, while you're trying to problem solve that so-and-so can't get on Zoom, and so-and-so doesn't have the right database that they need, and whatever the other cases are. And based on everything we're reading, some people on your team are going to get sick. They're going to get sick. So even the plans that you're putting in place and the work that you're doing and the systems you're creating, there's also the opportunity based on the way they're predicting the numbers that some people are going to be not working at full capacity for a period of time. So being responsible and managing your energy every time there's a transition from this conversation to that one. You get an email, it triggers something in you. All of a sudden you're like, what the heck are they doing? Why don't they understand? Blah, 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 and you're banging it back out. Just pause, 3 seconds. We all got it. And think how your body is going to appreciate that. Think how your body's going to appreciate that. I came to the reality yesterday, and then I'm gonna segue onto Sasha. But I came to the reality yesterday that underneath this veneer of holding up, things are great, I'm great, this is positive, we're navigating it well, we're helping our clients, we're doing really good work. Underneath that, all my tendons and sinew and muscles and everything are like holding so much tension. And I'm a little nervous that if I feel into that, I'm going to just lose my shit, right? Excuse me. Sorry, people who don't like that language. There's a lot of you out there, 42 people, sorry. But I'm afraid that if I let go for a second, I'm going to lose it for my team. I'm going to lose it for my customers. I'm going to lose it for everything. And I love Gina. Thank you, honey. Thank you so much. I'm going to lose it. And if I do, what's going to happen? Who's going to hold things up if I lose it? But I have worked through change before. I have navigated this. I have my breath, I have my energy. It's okay for me to take a beat, to take a pause and say, you know what, team, I'm not feeling great in this moment. I'm going to go step outside. I'm going to take a nap. I'm going to watch something really bad on, the Lifetime channel. And I'll be back with you in a little bit when I recenter and reground myself. So manage your energy first, so that other people don't get distracted by your energy. Sasha?
Thank you. Thanks for that.
Anything you want to add?
I do want to add one small thing, and people who get tripped up on the idea of the word energy. And I don't think that we have energy that we project. I just want you to consider, to act as if it does. Act as if it does. There is no, you do not need to try to science this out. Act as if how you feel can be felt outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
Please take that moment to just check in and do some emotional hygiene before you show up for others.
Yep.
So, oh, sorry, Beth, did you have something you wanted to add to that?
Nope, I activated poll number 2.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
So the second mantra is connection first. So I don't think it's lost on anyone here that people right now, there's a lot of uncertainty and that there's a lot of fear, right? You have your own fear, and the people that you work with, the people who are looking to you for leadership, for guidance, they have their own set of concerns, worries, priorities, and the things that they're hoping for, the things that they hope will happen. So before you start trying to go back to that plan that you had, or try to figure out what to do, productivity, profit, loss, whatever it is, I want you to take time to connect with the living person across from you. Take time to listen to them, to be present for them, and to let the authenticity of that connection be the starting point for anything you create.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is that connection with another person, with their learning style, with how they process information, for how they show up. It's that connection and appreciation that is what is going to bring out the genius of the moment, the genius that is going to take you to the place that you need to go right now, no matter how much planning you have done. We make plans. I think there's a little adage that says that, you make plans and then God laughs, something like that. But this is it. The connection you make with other people, how they process information, how they are taking in what you are bringing to them. Connect with that first. So one of the great learnings for Beth and I is that we process information in radically different ways. Beth is a highly creative person
Completely.
who she's a fountain of ideas, a literal fountain of ideas, and I need to consider things. So she'll like offer me like 10 different things on any given day. And there's a certain point when I I shut off the stream because I have to digest the first 5 things. Um, so checking in with the person who is with you, if you're offering them things or you're trying to understand what they're saying, checking in and being real about that is going to help you move forward. It's a big shift from why aren't they picking up fast enough? Why aren't they getting with the program? Can't they see that we have a plan in place and we have to do this? The connection is where everything starts.
Mm-hmm.
So connect with that person first. Listen, feel into them, and be there for them.
Mm-hmm.
Beth, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just want to talk a little bit about something my 2 daughters taught me quite a long time ago, my big teachers, which was I was living in California, they were living in Massachusetts, and they were young women with lots of experiences happening in their life and navigating so much stuff. And so I would suddenly get a phone call, which was like, um, Mom, blah, this is happening, right? And it's the end of the world, right? It's one of those end of the world phone calls. You're like, hello, how are you? Blah, 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 and they're throwing up all over me about this problem, which is gigantic to them in the moment. I'm a problem solver. I love to solve problems. Give me your problems. I will give you 500 things to do to solve them, right? And it wasn't working because we'd hang up and then I'd call them the next day because overnight I came up with like the best solution to the problem. They'd be like, not now, Mom, I'm out with my friends. Not now, Mom, I'm at happy hour. Oh, yeah, that was yesterday, Mom, that's over. I don't know. And I would have laid awake all night trying to sort it out. And so they said, hey, Mom, how about we develop a system, which is when we call you, we identify what we need in the moment. Hey, Mom, I have a problem and I would like you to give me a solution. Hey, Mom, I have a problem and I just want to let you know the things that I'm thinking of doing about it. Hey, Mom, I have a problem and I just want to tell you how sucky it is right now for me. And then I know what my job is around it. And so for you to begin to ask your staff and ask yourself when you're reaching out, what is it that you need so you can identify it on the front end so people don't have to do a whole bunch of work and have the burden of trying to help you in that way. We're getting a couple questions, and so I'm one question is, how do you connect with someone that is social and requires the feely? And so what I'm assuming that means, and you can tell me where I'm wrong, is that some people don't want they don't want connection, or some people really need connection. Both of those things can be true. So I was working with one of my leaders yesterday who is pretty happy like working and going on her own, but she's also feeling super isolated and not knowing what's happening for people. And I said, how often are you checking in? She's like, oh, I check in all the time on tasks and accountability and how people are doing. I'm like, nope. How often are you just saying, I want to schedule a 10-minute call just so we can chat and you can be heard? You can be really heard. We're so busy trying to get stuff done that we forget that at the end of the day, everyone just needs to be seen and heard. Sasha and I do that a lot. We're just like, do you have 5 minutes? I just need to be heard right now. I don't need anything else. So yes, thank you. A call, so simple. You are very welcome. The other thing about it is that people think, oh, and I do this all the time, I'm going to do a check-in, but I'm going to do it, I'm just going to send an email, how you doing? excuse me, you're not getting it, you're not getting anything back on that, because people are either just going to say fine, thanks, or they're not going to get to it till way later. It's not going to feel like an authentic connection. You're not going to read it in real time. Setting up some really brief phone calls with people that have no agenda is really important. Gina, who's on the call, I'm gonna call her out. She and I did we just did a call the other day, just say, hey, how are you? How are you doing? I shared with Sasha after that it was so hard for me to get myself out of, like, there is something for me to do here. Like, what's the agenda? What's the purpose? Why are we talking? What do you need from me? Kind of a thing. And she's nodding her head, so she must have felt it. I was like totally trying to repress it. But I'm like, okay, like, what's happening? Because I am so unaccustomed to just being like, hey, how's it going? What's happening for you? So I just wanted to pop in with that. People are asking for the poll results, so hopefully you're seeing them, because again, it's telling me nobody did anything. So that's okay. I'm trusting that things are happening.
People are responding to the polls. People are responding
Thank
to
you.
the polls.
Evidently, it's not for me to know. Not for me to know.
Right.
So how is it? How much do you believe it's possible to maintain connection when you're working remotely? Sasha, I'd be curious what people are feeling about that.
Some people, it's like, there's a lot more hopefulness than some of these questions, but some people say it is possible but hard.
It is tricky.
But there are quite a few people though who say we are communicating well before when we were together, but this is a big adjustment.
Yeah.
This is a big adjustment. And there are some that said that we've always practiced transparency and open communication, and that's how they're working now, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
Which is absolutely amazing. So, and again, during discussion time, I hope you talk a little bit about that.
Something that's happening for me just on this call is I'm seeing names of people who I've worked with in the past, I haven't seen for a while, like John Sweet just answered he just said, we see them, and sent a message to everybody. And so, like, I can feel that I am getting such a lift just from this connection with people that I have not connected to for such a long time. Like, oh my gosh, is making me like so full of joy. So it just shows that what we're talking about is absolutely the truth. So what is one of the tools for creating connection when you're feeling pressured, you have timelines, you're worried about whether people are getting the work done or not, you're worried about your work, your kids coming in, your whatever's happening, right? Curiosity is the pathway to connection. Begin by asking, not by telling. It's such a simple thing. It expands when we show up in curiosity. The realm of what is possible that you're going to learn, that people are going to share, that you're going to become aware of, expands, right? When I show up with a really direct question, hey, Betsy, how you doing on that report? What I learn about is how she's doing on the report. It's a teeny slice, right? But when I show up into the call and say, hey, Betsy, what's going well for you today? What's challenging for you today? Hey, Betsy, what are you seeing? What's happening that I don't know about? That's not transparent for me. Jennifer said, check in to see what my condition is in. Yes, I love that. Makes me want to sing. It also gives the other person the space to really be seen and heard. And we're used to doing this in person. We're used to doing it in the break room when we're getting our avocado toast. We're used to doing it, at the water cooler, when we're walking by someone's desk, when we're coming in and out of the building. We're used to doing it in the couple minutes before the meeting starts, when we're all sitting around the table, right? And we're chatting. And it's easy for it to get lost in remote management. Super easy. You know, when employees begin to feel that they're unheard, then they also begin to feel like they don't have a place to contribute all the other stuff. And all the other stuff is where innovation comes from. It's where the problems are percolating at a really small level and people are trying to manage them on their own. It's where you begin to understand what priorities people are working on, what's important to them. Maybe they need to shift. So I encourage you to use a bunch of different curious tools. So for instance, if you're in a meeting online and you keep hearing, being able to understand how to have your voice heard in a Zoom meeting is super tricky. Super tricky. Like, when do I interject? When do I get my turn to talk? When do I get to say what I'm thinking? And there's a large percentage of us, depending on learning styles, who are perfectly happy to allow the moment to pass without contributing. Like, okay, everybody moved on. So using questions like, hey, Larry, we haven't heard from you. I'm curious how you're thinking about how this plan's coming together. As the leader, being aware of who hasn't spoken and what unspoken truths they may hold, not just for your benefit, for the benefit for everybody in the room.
Beth, can I pop in with something real quick?
Certainly.
About we've heard this plenty of times. When you're using online tools to communicate, it is so easy to misinterpret what people are saying or what you think they mean. The curiosity tool of, can you say more about that, is so critical, especially if somebody says something and you're like, oh, what the heck was that? They must mean, and you know, before you know it, you've gone down the story about whatever it is that you have anxiety about, whatever it is that you think you're not going to get, what you think you're going to lose, what you think isn't going to happen. And it could be completely innocent.
Yes.
I would say, you know, people say assume good intent. I think it's a little bit easier to say assume innocence. Assume innocence in the moment. And to ask the question, what was meant? What did you mean when you said that? Can you tell me more? I don't understand.
Yes.
It can really, it can open the conversation up and bring you to a place where you're both working together again.
Yeah.
That's all I had to say there, Beth.
That was perfect because you completed my section, but and it's beautiful. Thank you.
You're welcome.
That's why we work together. So, you know, and that's one thing I want to really highlight is these questions, when you're asking curious questions, keep them simple. Simple. Oh, Greg, that's fascinating. Can you say more about that? Wow, that's great. Just what suggestions do you have? What do you think your next step might be? Particularly when someone is going on and on and on about something that feels hard and burdensome and a challenge, that the person that throws up the roadblocks, oh, it'll never work. We tried it in 1970 and it didn't pan out right. Okay, I hear that, but given that we're here today, what do you think your next step might be? Right? Those are like the gentlest questions. Show up as the learner, not the expert. Show up as the learner, not the expert. Because anybody, I don't care who you are, if you think you are the expert on how to navigate everything that is happening right now, you are in for a big wake-up call and you're holding way more tension and stress than you need to. We are all learning as we navigate this. So, yeah, those are my components on that piece. And I wanted to say, which I don't know if Sasha said this in the beginning, all these mantras are going to be sent to you in a follow-up email when we get off the phone. So they're all going to be in a printed sheet that you can post around your office. You can stick on your forehead. You can do whatever you want with it. So
When you say post around
um,
the office, do you mean like your kitchen table?
I do. Yeah.
Okay, awesome.
Or
Okay,
your
cool.
bed. Your bed, maybe.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your bed, wherever it is. Yeah. Okay, Sasha, we're at 10:42, believe it or not.
Okay, so the next mantra is create a container.
Mm,
And
yeah.
so when people are working predominantly in an office, part of the creation of a container starts with the moment you decide you're going to work, right? You have that moment where like, okay, I'm picking up my bag with my laptop and I'm heading out the door and I am going to get in my car or get on a bus or get on a train and I'm going to go to the office. And so that is the first step of entering the container that is work. And that container is usually the office space and all the people that are in it, right? But unfortunately, because if everyone's working remotely, you don't have the benefit of that container. You don't have the benefit of deciding you're going to get up, go out the front door, and go somewhere where there are going to already be people all with the same mindset. You can't see them now. You don't know what they're doing. You don't know how, what they're doing at any given time. So, in creating a container, it's two parts, right? The first one is setting your own mindset to begin work, right? You set yourself up to begin your work day. Um, it's really easy to drift when you're at home. There are all kinds of things that are to distract you. Maybe you have children or pets, or maybe you have to check in on your parents or whatever, things that are pulling you away from work. So you don't have that benefit of the container. So you have to create that container for yourself, and you have to create the container for the people that you're working with, or even better yet, collectively create the container. And so we do this by creating rituals and regularity. So, rituals and regularity, the things that you do together, that you agree to do together to help let each other know, I am here, I am in a work state of mind, I am present to work. Some people do it by sending, it's like we start our day here by sending Slack messages saying, hi, good morning, I'm online. This is my agenda for the day. I have, if you need help, this is how you can reach out to me. At this hour, I may, be out for a walk or something like that. But we set the container that way. Some people start their day by having a morning meeting. I know, Carrie, I know, like has a morning meeting every day, and that's like the new world for her. And otherwise, agreed rituals and routines that you all engage in so that you know that you're all working together. It's kind of building a collective agreement of how you're going to work. So those include norms, those include agreements about how you're going to use your tool set, and an agreement of like how you are going to communicate with each other. So keeping it open, keeping it transparent, but even though without the benefit of an office, you have a container that you're all working with. Beth, do you have anything you want to add to that?
I just want to say that sometimes you might be saying, and we've had this happen on our team, like, I don't need that from me, right? I don't need to check in on Slack in the morning and say, this is how I am, this is my day, this is how I'm heading. But 2/3 of our team needs it, right? And they want it. And so sometimes you're doing these things not because you need them, but because they're of the benefit of the good of the whole, right? And so that's that reciprocity of leadership. That's a generosity of navigating these times. That's doing things on behalf of the good of the whole. Sometimes it's not just for my benefit. Sometimes it's for others. And it's important to do. Yeah. I'm going to release the next poll now that I have learned how to do it so beautifully. And we're going to hold off on talking for a minute because I got a little feedback that some people felt like they were missing what we were saying when they were focusing on the poll. I love that. That was helpful.
Yeah, see, asking
So,
for what you need right there, we did something differently.
yeah.
The magic is happening.
Stop talking. We said we're going to stop talking.
Ah, she's so mean. That's what she is.
Okay, so I'm going to now talk. So the next section that we're going to talk about is how confident you are in the systems that you have in place. So I'm just gonna, I told Sasha I wasn't gonna out myself, and now I'm gonna out myself. So when Sasha came on board, I really had not managed a staff person for a little period of time in my life, and I was kind of glad that I wasn't managing staff people anymore. So when Sasha agreed to come to work for BWNC, I sent her a really long list of my expectations, how things were going to be done, what the container she was going to fit into, and what that was going to look like. And she immediately called me and was like, "What the hell is this?" And I was like, "It's my way of knowing that you're doing what you're supposed to be doing when you're supposed to be doing it, and it's going to exactly replicate the way that I do it, because that makes me feel like I'm in control, right?" And so we kind of laugh about it. I don't laugh about it as much as Sasha does. She likes to laugh about it a lot.
Hilarious.
But I laugh about it a little bit. So the next mantra is experiment, adopt, adapt, and repeat. And I don't know why, but for about the past 6 months, I've really been talking to my clients about framing every new initiative you do as a pilot, as an experiment, not as a this is how things are going to be from now on. And I know, particularly, I'm looking at Todd, who's the principal at a elementary school, and I know when I worked in education, it was like every year there was a brand new program that was going to teach kids how to read or teach kids social emotional intelligence, and we're throwing out the old program, we're getting with the new program, and this is going to be the elixir that's going to solve all the problems. And I know particularly educators from working in that environment are really sort of numbed and exhausted and tired by like the new thing that's going to come in and solve all our problems. And so as you're going through this transition, there's going to be a lot of new systems that need to be put in place, and not a lot of new things that need to be happening. And I'm going to encourage you, instead of coming out and going, this is what we're going to do, and everybody needs to be on board with this, is to instead adopt the learner mindset of, okay, we're going to pilot this, we're going to try it, and we're going to see what happens. We're going to take what works, we're going to let go of what doesn't work, and then we're going to repeat. And we're going to continue doing that. We're going to continue. So Anne asked me to repeat the mantra, and the mantra is experiment, adopt, adapt, and repeat. And when you phrase things like that, you're going to get less pushback and resistance and frustration. And you're going to get less of the comments of, leadership has no idea what they're doing. Last week, we're going to use Slack. This week, we're using messages. Next week, it'll be something else, right? We're going to experiment with this. We're going to adopt it. We're going to commit to trying it for a period of time. Then we're going to adapt it, and then we're going to repeat it. It's a lot of, when we are doing strategic planning with people, we go in and do a lot of strategic planning work. We talk a lot about the value of the strategic plan is you put out what you think is going to be the thing, right? You adopt it, you commit to it, you review the data, you adapt it, and then you continue to repeat the process. You don't create it, congratulate yourself, put it in the drawer, and check the box. This is the same thing. This is the same place we're in right now. So we're getting to kind of the end of the time here. Sasha, I know you have one more topic that is a really important one, and then I want to make sure that we at least have a few minutes for questions and things. If folks can start thinking about dumping those questions into the chat box, but you definitely do not want to miss what Sasha's going to talk about right now.
Okay, so the last mantra is outcomes, not hours. And so I know that people work hourly, and of course they have to work the hours. But what I want to say is that the people who are working for you, they bring, they have the productivity habits that they had in the office. They're bringing them with them. And if people had performance problems, they're bringing them with them. I encourage you, building on what Beth said about like feeling a need to be in control, is to focus on the work, to focus on what is being produced, to have conversations about the work. If you suspect that somebody is taking a prolonged ice cream break, I would not spend a lot of time dwelling on the ice cream break. I would dwell on what it is that they're committed to working on, what you're committed to delivering together. There's a lot of churn right now. In the last poll, half of the people who responded to the poll said that the difficulty they were having was that they had tools and they offered trainings, but not everybody's in the same place. Maybe they don't have the right equipment. Maybe they have a sketchy internet connection, things that they never had to deal with before, and everyone is playing catch up. So there's a lot of churn right now. And so thinking about the work as opposed to whether or not people are being model citizens with their hands folded in their lap, politely waiting for, acting like a good, classroom student. Realize, have some compassion and empathy for what they may be going through at home. There may be a dog in the background. I just see that Jennifer has a little dog in the background. It's very cute. There may be a lot of things going on that would prevent you, while you're in the home environment, from being just seated in your chair the entire time. Having some flexibility around that, and developing some norms about how you can do things like show up for your 8-hour shift while maintaining the reality of the home world, is going to take you a lot farther towards your collective goals than treating them like they are disobedient or are trying to take advantage. And so I'm gonna tie it off that, because I don't think a whole lot more has to be said on that one. But Beth, do you think it's time for us to open it up for some questions or comments?
I just want to add one little piece to that, which is what people are going to find when they start working from home is the time when they have their head down and they are working is much more intensive work than when you're being interrupted every few minutes in the office. And so literally their brains are going to need to take a break so that they can continue on the task. One of the rules of thumb that I read out there that the research says is for every hour that you're working intensely, you should take a 15-minute break so that you can go back to it, your brain nourished and refreshed. And Betsy Nash, who's done a lot of studying on this, agrees with me. She gave me the thumbs up on that. It's a different level of intensity when you're working from home than when you're working in the office, for sure. Anne, you said that I unmuted you, I think, Anne. Anne came to our Navigating Challenging Dialogue Leaderships class, 4-day class. And I know that you said you had some things that were working well. And so I'm wondering if you'd be willing to quickly share those right now.
Sure. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you. Great. It's great to hear your voice, Anne.
Yeah, nice to hear you. This was perfect timing, that you guys offering this session. And I know I've been getting a lot of your emails, and I've been, to be honest, kind of blowing them off because it's like, oh, I've got too much to do, etc. And so when this whole COVID-19 happened, it's just, last week has just been kind of a whirlwind. And so, as you know, I work in government. And I actually supervise non-exempt employees, and I am exempt. And so I do telework myself. I've been doing it a lot, but I still have to be in the office. It's the mindset at where I work has been they expect people in the office, regular hours, 8 to 5. So this is very new to the whole environment. And so what happened last week is we were hearing rumblings about this shelter in place coming down, and bordering counties were doing it. And so on Thursday, the office was just toxic. I mean, it was just the feel of what was going on. People were panicking, not knowing what was going on. And so our company, or actually the county, initiated a temporary telework policy. And so all these people started filling out forms. And so I was just, my team, I'm very fortunate, is we aren't frontline folks. We're in long range planning. And so I had my team get me all the forms I needed to fill out on Thursday. Friday morning came around, and boom, things were just flying. And so I was like one of the first ready to get my people out, to get them out of that environment. And so we were like the test pilots for this telework. And so on Saturday, our IT people were working on getting people access. And one of them said, one of my employees contacted me on Saturday and said, hey, IT is telling me my computer's turned off, and I didn't turn it off. And so I offered to go into the office and see what was going on, and his computer was on. So we've actually been the ones kind of piloting this. But to be honest, we're being scrutinized. We're being more scrutinized than the people that are still there, because they're saying, well, the whole thing about trust. And so what I initiated over the weekend is I set up a master schedules Excel sheet. And in the Excel sheet, I have a tab for what tasks we're working on, prioritizing it. It's a shared document that we're working on. What we're going to do at the end of this week, we're going to just do a summary report to my boss, letting them know this is what we've been working on.
Nice.
We've been having, where you're talking about routines, kind of the water cooler type stuff, is every morning we do just a chat. We've been using Google Chat at 8 a.m. We just all connect at 8 a.m. and we just kind of focus on the first 15 minutes. And then at the end of the day, we've been doing a little check-in too to keep people connected. And it's working, really well. There is still, what I really learned from today and I really appreciate is I haven't been really sensitive to how this whole COVID-19 is really affecting people emotionally. And so I really like your idea of just offering my team individual one-on-ones that we could connect and just say, hey, if you just need to talk, I'm here. And I think that's one of the takeaways I've taken from today. So, I feel that we really, are doing a good job, and, we're trying to maintain being calm and collected, but there is some animosity about what's going on at work, because there's still some pressure to keep people there. And, this virus is pretty devastating. I don't know. So there's sort of like the people that are working from home feel like they're being, that they're like people are looking at them like they're not being troopers. Like the people that are in the office are the troopers, and yet we're the ones that are continuing to work, and being productive. So that's something that we're trying to work through now as well. But anyway, I just wanted to share that all these tools were brand new to us, and we one of my team members, he's super tech savvy, and he's the one that got the whole Google Chat thing up and running for us. And so we've been fully more productive, I would say, than being there.
Nice.
Chaos.
Thank you for that. One thing that I heard you say that I think is so important to point out is that this is creating whole new categories of bias that we have not experienced and seen before, right? Bias around who's believing that we need to shelter in place and who isn't. Bias between who's getting paid to stay home and who's getting laid off. There is a bunch of biases that are getting created, bias around privilege. So just being aware of how that is happening and how you're talking about it as a leader and how you're exploring it. Betsy brought up a great point, which is that when you're doing these quick one-on-one check-ins with folks, making sure that people understand that this is not part of a performance evaluation. This will not be used against you. You are not checking in on productivity or anything. You're simply connecting as two human beings. So, making sure that you are in integrity with that, and they are in integrity with that, and don't misuse that trust, because we build trust one conversation at a time and one event at a time, and trust is destroyed one conversation at a time and one event at a time. So if you're going to shift that one-on-one check-in to something else, you need to be really clear about it with the person. Yeah, thanks, Anne. That was awesome. Anybody else where we are really like, you know, I want to be respectful. I'm not in a rush in any way, shape, or form, but I want to make sure if people have questions, they get them answered. I think we have some kind of a hand raising option, which I do not currently know how to see that. Sasha, do you see it?
I don't. I think probably the easiest thing to do is either to say something in chat because we don't know what we're doing, or to just take yourself off mute and to offer something. And we are recording this, so if you feel like you need to drop off because of your other commitments, it's okay. We are sending out. We're sending this.
Oops, Sasha, I just muted you also.
Nice.
Okay, so I really messed things up at this point. Can you hear me? Can people hear me? Nod. Yay. People cannot hear Sasha.
I am muted now.
You're unmuted now.
Thank
All right.
you.
Thank you. Wow.
You don't get to touch things anymore.
I know. All right. Reactions at the bottom of the screen. I heard someone say, which may be the hand raising thing, but I'm still not seeing it. So
may I speak, Beth?
You may?
What
Yes,
Sasha
please.
just said, or what Sasha just wrote, to make sure that the check-in is a two-way street. And I always feel this way about face-to-face meetings as well. How's it going? What's your high point? What's your low point? Whatever, however you want to put it. Of course, you all phrased it much better than I earlier on these check-ins. I think they can be very, very helpful. Make sure they're a two-way street. That's all. Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Betsy. Colleen had a question, which is, can you provide a couple communication terms to help facilitate the check-ins? I would come up with a name for them. So when I worked at a big company a few years ago, several years ago now, we started a thing that was called Mug Up, because I used to go out and work with my dad as a gardener, and every day at about 10 o'clock, yeah, we have a Beth Wanson and Company Mug Up mug that Sasha's holding. Every day at about 10 o'clock, he and I would stop at this little coffee shop, the Willow Rest, Todd knows it, and we'd sit at the counter and we'd have a cup of coffee and I'd have a Coke, and all the tradespeople would like share like who they're working with, who's paying, who's not paying, what's happening with the weather, what's, you know, it was kind of like men's gossip hour almost. And so at Project Adventure, I started what was Mug Up, which was a time every Wednesday at 10 o'clock, everybody could come down and we essentially just chatted, right? It was not supervisor, employee, it wasn't anything. It was just chatting. And it was Mug Up. So people got used to that terminology. And if things were tough, we're having a hard time, we called an emergency Mug Up and we'd say it over the PA system and everyone knew what we were going to do. There was no stress. So come up with like a name for your little check-ins that lets people know this is what's going to happen. We're just going to chat, you know, maybe it's our daily chat. Maybe it's morning meeting. It doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter what you call it as long as people understand what it's about. Mindy Lawrence said they sent out a thing last week that just said, we'd like to take several minutes with each person to check in with the group. How are you doing? How are you feeling about the challenges and anything that needs to be addressed by you? So it's just helping people understand what are the norms of this, what are they doing, and I love catchy little names, but you can do that or not. And Colleen, I know you're going to come up with a name. Come on. I know you well enough. All right. So we are going to send you I'm trying to look to see, make sure I didn't miss anything. Anybody wrote? I don't think so. We're going to send you the recording. We're also going to send you a PDF of the mantras. I think that's all we're sending, right, Sash?
Well, we also have one tiny ask, which is we want to know how we did. So we also have a 3-person questionnaire. 2 of them are yes/no questions, so it's super easy because we use feedback to improve how we do. So we want to hear from you on whether this was valuable to you, if there was anything that we didn't cover that you would have liked to have heard about, and what we can do in the future to make this an even better, stronger, more useful offering.
Yeah. How big of a group do you think is too big for something like the mug up? That's an interesting question. Because some folks don't find value in checking in. I always think 8 is the appropriate group for pretty much anything, but it depends on what it is you're going to do. You could just offer it like we did for this, to offer opportunity to come, and whoever comes. I mean, mandatory community time, like mandatory fun, just is not a good idea. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So, and model the behavior you desire in others. So as you begin showing up and checking in and talking about what's happening for you in ways that are not manipulative, then other people will sort of show up at the table also. So
I want to also give a shout out to Kevin, who I know is on the call right now. I worked with Kevin at Facebook, and I know he has this ritual that he does with his team and anyone else who wants to join, which is morning coffee, beginning of the day. I mean, I know he probably missed getting together at the cafe to connect that way in the morning, but I encourage you to have that ritual, have that warm, open-hearted ritual with your team where it is a no harm, no foul space, where you're being human with each other, and where you can talk openly about what is real.
Yeah.
Because that's how you make it through. That is how you go forward.
Yeah. All right, my friends, I adore, and I know it's totally inappropriate, but I'm going to say it anyway because I don't care. I adore and love every single one of you. I am so grateful. We are so grateful that you are here with us and that you're leaning into us, and we as well are leaning into you. So we'll be doing more of these, and welcome, and stay in touch, please. Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everyone. Bye.